Last time we talked.
Building a
To
position.
build it, yep. Build the plane while you're flying. If you're not just building a plane, you're building the whole building.
They see nothing wrong with it. Not a way to-
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education for Monday, February 14th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bosch,
Present.
Ms. Bethay,
Here.
Mr. Schmidt,
Here,
Mr. Zennerman, Ms. Habergorst, Mr. Booth,
Here.
Ms. Marks. For present, we do have a quorum.
All right, great. Mrs. Marks and Mrs. Hevighorst had prior commitments, and Mr. Booth might be able to join us.
Zennerman.
Mr. Zinneman, I'm sorry, Mr. Zinneman. I was looking at Mr. Booth, my apologies. Mr. Zinneman might be able to join us later on this evening. With that, the first, next thing is approval of minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting of January 10th, 2022. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor, right? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Next thing is future dates.
Yes, as a reminder, 1 week from today is our President's Day holiday. We will not be in school. And then that Friday, February 25th, is an early dismissal day. Staff will be working in the afternoon. Students go home half day. And then before our next board meeting, we also have Pulaski Day, which is Monday, March 7th. And we have an early dismissal day for staff improvement on March 17th. So 2 staff improvement days over the next month and a half and 2 holidays.
Do we have any presentations this evening?
No.
Okay. Audience participation is next on the agenda. Whoops, I'm too far ahead. So at this point, the public is welcome to comment on any items, any item or items that in front of the Board of Education that are not on the agenda for this evening. Okay, come on up. If you please come up to the agenda and state, I'm sorry, to the microphone and state your name.
Thank you, Ms. Gozel.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, do we have a response to questions or concerns raised by the audience at previous meetings?
There were no issues raised that weren't responded to.
Okay. Next item, report of any board committees or meetings.
We had a personnel committee last Tuesday, I believe it was. Met for about a half hour in the morning. Dr. McAllister presented to us some rather creative, innovative ideas. We'll see on the agenda later on, looking at ways to attract new personnel, certified personnel, in addition to ways in which to attract and maintain substitutes as well. So, as I said, creative in some regards and creative in some regards. Pick the mask up. Pick the mic up. There we go. Should we say that again? Thanks. Sorry. Yeah, the personnel committee met last week, and Dr. McAllister shared with the committee 2 creative ways in which they're looking to recruit and maintain both certified staffing positions as well as substitute positions. And those items are on the agenda for later tonight.
Thank you. Next thing is superintendent's report.
Yes, I just wanted to provide everyone an update on where we are with regard to COVID mitigations. Obviously, the board had an emergency meeting on Sunday, a week ago Sunday, so 9 days ago on February 6th. And at that time, we were meeting under emergency protocols because of the court order that had been issued 2 days prior on Friday, February 4th. And so At this point, there's been no new updates. We were awaiting an appeals court decision. We are still awaiting that appeals court decision, so it's been 10 days. And at this point, the most recent thing I've read said that we can expect something possibly by the end of this week from the appeals court. And again, keep in mind, the appeals court can do really one of two things. They can either issue a stay of the temporary restraining order, which would essentially mean that the governor's mask mandate is back in effect, or the appeals court could just maintain the temporary restraining order, which would affect the roughly 140 school districts that were named in that suit. Homewood School District 153 was not one of the districts named in that suit, which is why we were able to meet on Sunday, February 6th, and have a local decision as far as maintaining our mitigations. So that's where we are right now. We are definitely going to stay on top of whatever comes out of the legal system, whatever comes out of the health system. If you had an opportunity to look at our quarantine numbers as of this morning, we post those every Monday. Our COVID positivity rates last week, the number of students quarantined last week are as low as they have been in some time. So that's certainly good news. And I would certainly like to think that the mitigations we have in place are a contributing factor to that. So nonetheless, we are going to keep an eye on the court system. We're going to keep an eye on the IDPH and Cook County Department of Public Health decisions as far as how we proceed on this topic moving forward. Yep, that's it.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I would also like to ask Ms. Bethay, there was something she wanted to share, some good news from our schools.
Yes, so I just wanted to say a thank you to Mr. Johnson, Mr. Matt Johnson and Mrs. Heather Holfill for a great job that they're doing with our band students. This past Saturday, the Gold Jazz Band at James Hart participated in the Old Quarry Jazz Festival. They did a phenomenal job, got a lot of great compliments and a lot of good feedback. I'd like to thank Mrs. Kim Johnson for coming out and supporting our students, and also Dr. Gibson for helping to make sure our students were safe out there unloading the equipment and everything, so we appreciate that. And then this upcoming Saturday is the Jazz Festival, is the IGSMA Solo and Ensemble for our band students, and that will take place in Plainfield.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bethay.
Yes, thank you.
Moving on, next thing is the personnel report. We're moving on to consent agenda items. So consent agenda item A is the personnel report.
Yes, we have several staff members, again, a couple of reassignments, some long-term subs. We're always looking for subs, so if anybody's interested in subbing. We have raised our rate. I'm going to make this public. We have raised our daily sub rate to $125 a day. So that's competitive with area schools, and we are looking forward, obviously, to rewarding those individuals who provide such a vital service to our district. But you can also see some other names of staff members, again, FMLAs, et cetera, in the personnel report.
Excuse me. The next consent agenda items is to change the date for the March board meeting from March 14th to March 21st. Time will remain at 7 p.m.
Yes, that is necessitated. We are pretty much each month this spring, we have bid packages that are coming in because of the upcoming construction work. And so our contractors have said there is a bid package that's going to come in the week of March 14th. So if we had our regularly scheduled meeting on the 14th, we would miss the bid approval and would have to wait. And time is of the essence. Literally every week counts. So we're going to push that back 1 week to accommodate the bid approval process.
The next item is the approval of the district discipline handbook.
Each year, we meet with a group of parents who review our discipline handbook, which is posted on our website. I met with them roughly 3 weeks ago, and those parents gave recommendations. You can see the draft version in your packets.
Thank you. Next item is to authorize the chief school business official to pay the usual and customary bills for March 2022.
Nothing further to state there unless Dr. Gibson has something. Nope. Okay.
Okay. That's it for the consent agenda items. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented in items 17 Is that right? I think it's 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay.
Yes.
4 ayes.
Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is action agenda items. First one is second payment of January 2022 bills and first payment of February 2022 bills. Are there any? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, are there any questions regarding the bills?
All right. Is there a motion?
Moved upon the recommendation of the chief school business official that the Board of Education authorize the second payment of July 2021 bills.
January.
I believe I'm in the wrong.
8A.
You know what? I was in 2022 before I left, sorry. I'm going to stop reading that. That's why I have the numbers. Stop reading and shift to somebody else that's on there. Let me get on the right agenda.
Moved upon the recommendation of the chief school business official that the Board of Education authorize the second payment of January 2022 bills and the first payment of February 22 bills in an amount not to exceed $444,551.28.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Confidently, yes.
4 ayes, motion passes.
Right. Next item is the approval of incentive pay for the new hire recommendations.
Yes, so as Mr. Schmidt was pointing out, I met with the Personnel Committee earlier, actually it was last week, to share this recommendation. And it's very, very well publicized, the challenge we're having with staffing, not only our district, but every district. Quite simply put, the amount of people entering the education profession is diminishing, and our schools have bigger needs than ever before. So schools are becoming very, very competitive with regard to attracting new talent. And in reviewing the people that we've hired, the individuals who've come to our district the last several years, it's clear that a majority are coming from districts that are fairly close to us, geographically close to us. And oftentimes we have staff members that we employ who know individuals working in other districts. And I'm a firm believer that our best recommendations come from people who work here because they clearly have a vested interest in bringing great people in as colleagues. So what I'd like to do is promote an incentive program to get our staff to recommend high-quality individuals to come into our district. And so what I'm asking the board to approve this evening is a stipend for existing staff members of $1,000 if they recommend somebody that we hire and retain. So $500 would be paid when we hire that individual, and then they would get a second $500 payment when the individual is brought back for employment for a second school year. So again, our staff members would receive $1,000 over 2 years if they recommend somebody that we hire. And I truly believe this is a small investment in our most valuable asset, which is people. And I hope it brings good individuals to Homewood School District 153.
Any questions or comments from members of the board?
When I say innovative, I believe, as Dr. McAllister and I spoke last week, I don't know of any other school doing that, and it's an attempt to do something new and different. And yeah, I hope it's well received and that it works on our behalf. It's a great. We know this is a great district, and we know our teachers are outstanding, and outstanding people normally associate with other outstanding people. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this comes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If there aren't any other questions, I have a motion, please.
Motion, sorry. I do have the right one. Moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the board approve the payment of $1,000 to current non-administrative employees of our district who recommend individuals that are hired in our district as described in the attached memorandum.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Before we go any further, I think we need to appoint a secretary for today's meeting.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Jim Schmidt.
Well, seeing as I finally found the
Do we-
right agenda, I think I'm
I think you're the right
qualified
person
for
for
it,
the
but
job.
does anybody else want that job first?
You got it, you got
You guys have confidence?
it. Yeah, we got confidence in you. We have
I
confidence.
willfully accept, thank you.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Secretary Schmidt. Moving on to the next item is the approval of the 2022-2023 school calendar. Or I'm sorry. I missed one. My fault. Item C is the approval of the funding bond resolution.
Yes, so this is the next step in our process to continue with our construction work that's going to begin this summer, a large portion this summer and some into the following summer. But for the last several months, we've been working with bond companies to get this issuance, and tomorrow's the big day. So pending approval tonight, our bonds will go to market, and we will actually receive the funds necessary to pay for the work that we're going to get done. So this is the kind of the final step in that process.
Any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Moved upon the recommendation of the chief school business official that the board approve the resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $8,200,000 general obligation limited tax school bonds, Series 2022, for the purposes of paying claims against the district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest of said bonds, and authorizing the execution of a bond purchase agreement with Meserole Financial Incorporated in connection with the proposed sale of said bonds.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Now we'll move on to D, which is the approval of the 2022-2023 school calendar.
Yes, this is always an exciting moment for our families and our staff to figure out what their next school year is going to look like. So we have the presentation of the calendar, school starting August 22nd, which is 1 week after HF, which is traditional. We have winter break and spring break aligned with the high school, which we always do. Last day of school, June 2nd, barring any emergency days. And then there's the traditional holidays, et cetera.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, if not, do we have a motion?
Moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 school calendar as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Moving on to the next agenda item, we have employment.
Yes, we have one individual that we are hiring, an assistant at Willow, Sherry Snipes.
Do you have any questions or concerns or comments from the board? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
Moved upon the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education approve the employment of Sherry Snipes effective February 14th, 2022, upon the terms recommended by the superintendent, conditioned only upon the receipt of a satisfactory criminal background report and upon receipt of no later than February 21st, 2022, of evidence of proper legal qualifications for the position to be filled.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch.
Yes.
4 ayes, motion carries. Yes.
For the next item, next action agenda item, we do need to have an executive session to discuss disenrollment of student number 29080. Do we have a motion to move into executive
So
session?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we will be back after our executive session to vote on the next agenda item.
see something there? Shouldn't jump into.
Why not? You can do that.
Oh, good. My lights are used.
course you would.
All right. So we need a motion to return or to exit executive session and return to our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. The next item on the agenda is the subject is disenrollment of student number 29080.
Yes, so we have the item on the agenda, and I believe we have a guest who would like to address the board on this topic. You can come right up, introduce yourself, please, and then,
Yep.
yeah, the microphone right here. Should make sure that's on.
Oh, careful, careful, careful.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Murtis Brown, and I'm here to speak to the disenrollment of student 29080. This is student 29080. More pictures of this student. He is an 8th grade student here at James Hart School. He has been a student here since 8th grade. My name is Murtis Brown, and number one, I speak from the heart of a loving grandmother. This is my grandson. Secondly, I speak from not the heart of a grandmother, but I speak from the experience of a retired professional school educator. I entered a classroom February 1, 1965. I left my last classroom December 2018. I spent 53 years in public education. Started out as a high school history teacher, went to central office downtown Chicago as administrator, and I spent the last 10 years of my career at the University of Illinois, Chicago, from the College of Education as a supervisor for student teachers. It was my responsibility to mentor them and coach them through their internship for student teaching. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. I also understand your responsibility as a duly elected body to do the due diligence for this school district and for the residents of District 153. But there are some mitigating factors here that I would like to raise. I read the hearing officer's report. I listened to, and I was present as a witness at the hearing. I listened to the responses from this student's mother that she is a homeless person and has been homeless since 2000, late 2000 or the beginning of 2019-18. She had to flee her home because of domestic violence and has gone through a very adversarial divorce process. I personally have visited she and her children in various Airbnbs, I think that's what they're called, and being bounced from relatives to friends, etc. So this has been a very unstable and chaotic situation for student 29080. The only stability and structure that this student has had in his life for the past 2 years has been here at James Hart. He's been in attendance every day. He has developed friendships. He has developed relationships. He has been a vital part of the boys' basketball team for 2 years. And so my question is raised here. Your decision to accept the hearing office finding, the victim of this is not the one who is responsible for violation of school code, law, district policy, etc. So if he personally did not break a law, why are we going to break his heart? There are 62 calendar days to graduation. What is going to happen to this child? Graduation from elementary school to high school to college, these are rites of passage, they're transitional, and they're important pinpoints in a child's life. School, as I said, provides stability and structure to students when they don't have it anyplace else. Even as a high school teacher, and I had mostly seniors, if I were absent from my classroom for a day for whatever reason, students would sometimes come up to me and say, "Where were you, Miss Brown? I missed you." So it becomes a type of a home and environment for these students. I have done research. The American Association for School Psychologists and Counselors. There are some detrimental points when a student is uprooted from his environment in school. And those pinpoints tend to do with age and the grade level. This student fits both of those categories, which is detrimental to him, his mental health, his academic progress, etc. And so one of the founders, one of my favorite quotes very often that I share with my student teachers when I was at the University of Illinois, in terms as we talked about the purpose for schools and education. It came from Frederick Douglass in which he said, "It is better to build strong children than to fix broken men." That is the task that is before us as family, as school, and as community. The founder of public education, Horace Mann, said once, "Education of the mind without educating the heart is no education at all." So there are some mitigating circumstances. And so what I'm asking you, appealing to you, is to ask for understanding for this student, because he is not responsible for this situation. And I'm asking compassion for him as well. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. So at this time, need to ask for a motion, please.
Moved upon the recommendation of the administration that the board find that student number 29080 is a non-resident of the district and to prohibit student number 29080 from attending School District 153 based on the evidence produced by the parties at the hearing. Further, the school board hereby moves to authorize the administration to take such actions as are necessary to collect tuition due from the parent of student number 29080. Further, the school board hereby moves to authorize the administration to issue a final decision consistent with the Illinois School Code and its determination that student number 29080 shall be prohibited from attending school district number 153 unless the required tuition is paid.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Ms. Bethay,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
4 ayes, motion passes. Well, I do appreciate you coming this evening, we all do, and I'll follow up with you after the meeting. I think we have several things to talk about, and again, I appreciate your service in public education, first of all, and the time that you took to come and speak with us this evening, but I'll touch base with you afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda are discussion items. Are there any discussion items?
None for me?
Okay. Do we have any written communication to the board?
There is no communication to the board.
Thank you.
We don't have any written communication, but I did want to point out one thing. I'd like to say thank you to our tech department, Jacob Condon, Sametta Gardner, Beth White, sorry, and Nico Sims for all their hard work on all of our technical devices and providing our students with consistent devices.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.